Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Movesets video. Today's video is going to be all about Sudowoodo, so let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Sudowoodo is a Rock-type Pokemon introduced into Generation 2 that has access to 3 abilities, the first of which being Sturdy, which is basically a focus sash for an ability, and that it makes it so that while Sudowoodo is at full HP, it can survive any attack directed at it by its opponents with at least 1 HP remaining. And its second ability is known as Rock Head, which prevents this Pokemon from taking recoil damage from attacks such as Head Smash or Double Edge or Wood Hammer. Lastly though, it possesses the Rattled ability as its hidden ability, which makes it so that when this Pokemon is damaged by Bug, Ghost, and Dark type attacks, it will receive a +1 speed boost. But as for its stats, this Pokemon is actually pretty bulky, possessing base 70 HP, 115 defense, and 65 special defense, especially allowing it to take hits from physical attackers very well. And offensively, it possesses a really nice base 100 physical attack stat, allowing it to deal a lot of physical damage. However, its special attack stat is only base 30, so you're not going to get a ton of use out of that, even though this Pokemon, surprisingly enough, does have access to Calm Mind, which is very strange, but I would still not even bother trying to run a special attacking set with this guy. But lastly, this Pokemon has a base 30 speed stat, which is fairly slow, so it doesn't really allow it to use that physical attack stat in and of itself, unless you're using it on a Trick Room team, which can be very deadly, but you also have to keep in mind that Sudowoodo does get access to Rock Polish to boost its speed further, and thus allow it to actually, as a result of setting up, be a little bit more of a threatening physical attacker. And with all this in mind, this Pokemon currently finds itself in the PU tier, so with that, let's take a look at the first moveset that I have for you in this video. So for this first moveset, we're going to start by running Sudowoodo as a defensive hazard setter. So we're going to begin by giving it either an Impish Nature to increase its physical defense but lower its special attack, or a Careful Nature to increase its special defense but lower its special attack, and go with the Rock Head ability. As for the EVs, we're going to max out its HP with 252 EVs into that stat, and then put 252 EVs into either its physical defense or its special defense, depending on whether or not you want to run this more specially or physically bulky, and then put the last 4 EVs into its speed stat, just to make it 1 point faster and able to potentially outspeed other base 30 speed Pokemon it might be matched up against. But for the item on the set, we're going to go ahead and run either Leftovers to allow it to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn, or Rocky Helmet to make it so that when your opponent damages Sudowoodo with a contact move, they'll take a little bit of damage in the process, which also works really well because most of those contact moves are physical attacks, and Sudowoodo obviously has a fairly high physical defense stat. But for the moves, the first one on the set is going to be Stealth Rock to set up hazards on our opponent's side of the field that'll be damaging them every single time they switch in. And then we're also going to go ahead and run Head Smash as your main stab rock type move. And this move, even though we aren't investing even remotely into physical attack on the set, is going to be hitting extremely hard because of the incredibly high base power of Head Smash, and we also don't even have to worry in the slightest bit about the recoil because of our Rock Head ability. But in addition to this, we're going to go ahead and run Sucker Punch, which is a great option for Sudowoodo because it's a priority move that will help to allow this Pokemon to pick off faster opponents, especially if they're at a lower range of health, because this move obviously has priority. But for the last attack, we're either going to go ahead and run Wood Hammer as an additional grass-type coverage move, which we don't have to worry about the recoil of because of Rock Head, but it's also really great because it matches up very well against a lot of other hazard setters that happen to be rock or ground types. But then we can also potentially run Earthquake for some additional type coverage with the Rock Stab as well as ground-type Earthquake, or run Foul Play to allow us to use our opponent's physical attack against them, or even lastly run Fire Punch, which can be a really good option when matched up against something like Ferroseed, which is very common in the PU tier. But we can also run this moveset in a little bit more of an offensive way. So to do that, we're actually going to change up the nature and run it Jolly this time to increase this Pokemon's speed but lower its special attack, and then go with either the Sturdy or Rock Head ability in this instance. But the EVs this time, we're going to max out its physical attack and its speed stats with 252 EVs into both of those, while putting the remainder 4 into its special defense. And for the item this time, there are quite a few options. We could either go with a Cuss Stat Berry to make it so that when this Pokemon is taken below 25% of its health, it will always move first on the following turn, aside from obviously losing a priority in that particular instance. But that's one way to capitalize off of Sturdy, because you're always going to survive one attack at full HP. Or we could even turn this into a more of an offensive way of boosting by running Weakness Policy in combination with Sturdy, because you'll turn your ability to survive any attack, potentially a super effective one, into a +2 boost to your physical attack and your special attack. Or if wanting to go with the Rock Head ability on an offensive lead set like this one, you could just go ahead and run Focus Sash as your item to always survive in the same way that Sturdy would provide that utility. But for the moves this time, again, Stealth Rock is there to set up hazards, and then either Head Smash or Stone Edge is going to be your rock type move of choice. Obviously go with Head Smash if you're using the Rock Head ability, but if you're using Sturdy, go ahead and go with Stone Edge because otherwise you will kill yourself with the recoil. And then again, we're going to go ahead and run Earthquake as a coverage option, just like on the first version of the set, because this gives you the best type coverage overall between the two moves that you can potentially pick from as your main attacking options. But for the last move on the set, we can again run Sucker Punch to give this Pokemon some good priority. We could also run Explosion, which can be amazing for dealing a really solid chunk of damage to your opponents because it has a super powerful 250 base power for a physical attack, which is always awesome and can work very well in combination with the Custap Berry. We could also run Counter on the set to potentially also use your Sturdy ability to your advantage, or Focus Sash, to counter and basically damage any physical attacker trying to take out Sudowoodo, because you're always going to live with 1 HP if you're at full health. Or go with Rock Polish to turn this into some kind of boosting lead set, which can be a lot of fun, or capitalize off the fact that we're running quite a bit of speed on the set, and run Taunt as a way to prevent other opponents from using any non-attacking moves if Sudowoodo is faster than them. As for this next moveset, we're going to run Sudowoodo as an all-out attacker to allow it to deal as much damage as it possibly can. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a Jolly Nature to boost its speed but lower its special attack, or an Adamant Nature to boost its physical attack but lower its special attack, and then go with the Rock Head ability, and an EV spread like on the previous moveset to maximize our physical attack and speed stats with 252 EVs into both of those, and putting the remainder 4 into its special defense. And as for the item on the set, we're going to go ahead and run either a Choice Band to boost our physical attack by 1 stage while locking us into a move, a Life Orb to increase the damage of all of our attacks at the cost of losing 10% of our health every time we damage an opponent, a Z Crystal to correspond to one of the types of attacks on the set to give you a super powerful move of that type, or an Assault Vest to capitalize off of Sudowoodo's already good physical defense and thus allow it to switch in against more attackers and damage them with its powerful attacks. But for the moves, again, Head Smash is going to be your main stab rock type attack, and then we're also going to run some really good type coverage in the form of Earthquake as a ground type move, and Wood Hammer as a powerful grass type attack. And between these 3 moves in and of themselves, Sudowoodo has some really powerful and damaging attacking options for its great physical attack set that will be damaging its opponents very easily. But for the last move on the set, we can run the priority Sucker Punch, just like you've seen on the previous couple movesets, or Fire Punch as an alternative option to give you a little bit more type coverage, foregoing the priority of Sucker Punch, but allow you a little bit of an easier time damaging something, like I said before, like Ferroseed, that may be 4 times weak to Fire Punch. But in addition to running it this way, just like on the previous set where we kind of have 2 ways of doing it, we could also run an all-out attacker that's designed specifically to be a little bit more tanky, or is designed specifically for a Trick Room team. So in this particular variant, we're going to start by giving it either an Adamant Nature to boost its physical attack but lower its special attack, or a Brave Nature to increase its physical attack but lower its speed if running this on Trick Room. And then again go with the Rock Head ability. But for the EVs this time, since we're going to be a bit more tanky, we're going to max out its HP and its physical attack stat by putting 252 EVs into both of those stats, and then put the remainder 4 into its special defense. But for the item this time, there's a lot of similar options. Again, a Choice Band, a Life Orb, a Z Crystal, and an Assault Vest are all there, but because this is a little bit more of a bulkier set, leftovers can definitely be used to give this Pokemon a little bit more sustainability throughout the battlefield, as it will be taking hits more often than the previous one. But for the moves, again, Head Smash, Earthquake, and Wood Hammer give you some amazing type coverage, and then Sucker Punch as a priority option, or Fire Punch as an additional coverage option. But on this set in particular, especially if also using it under Trick Room or just against a team that maybe only has a lot of physical attackers left on it after you've worn down many of the other Pokemon on its team, Power Up Punch, when transferred over from a previous generation, can be an amazing setup move to allow Sudowoodo to deal even more damage when using this on a non-choice banded set, as every time you damage your opponent with Power Up Punch, you will get a +1 physical attack boost. And I could even see arguing to include Power Up Punch on this set in place of one of the other 3 attacks as well, just to give you that opportunity to still run Fire Punch or Sucker Punch if you would like to. As to this next moveset, we're going to go ahead and run Sudowoodo just purely as a Rock Polish sweeper, which can work especially well, especially when used in combination with like Sticky Web support, or if you anticipate the chance to possibly gain a second Rock Polish boost, just because Sudowoodo's speed stat is still not super amazing even after +2. But for this particular set, we're going to start again by giving it a Jolly Nature to boost its speed but lower its special attack, and then this time go either with the Sturdy or Rock Head ability. And for the EVs, going with 252 attack, 4 special defense, and 252 speed to max out your physical attack and speed. And for the item, As you're going to notice, this set is very similar to like kind of the lead set minus Stealth Rock. So we're going to potentially include Weakness Policy here as an option to allow Sudowoodo the ability to be granted a +2 physical attack and special attack boost when used in combination with Sturdy, if you can preserve that throughout the battle and get the opportunity to set up. Or go with a Life Orb to increase the damage of all of your attacks at the cost of losing 10% of your health every time you damage an opponent, or a Z Crystal, again to correspond to one type of attack on the set to give you a super powerful move of that type. But because the set is designed to use Rock Polish, we're going to go ahead and throw that on as our first move of this moveset, which will give this Pokemon a reliable way to boost its speed by 2 stages, and thus make it considerably more threatening of a physical attacker, because it will now be outspeeding a lot more things than it normally would. Then we're going to go ahead and run either a Stab, Head Smash, or Stone Edge as our main Stab Rock type attack. Again, Head Smash if using the Rock Head ability, but Stone Edge if using the Sturdy ability. And then we're going to run Earthquake as an additional coverage option, again because it gives you that really great rock and ground type coverage. Finally though, for the last move, on this set, we're going to go ahead and run either Wood Hammer, just like before for the grass type coverage, Sucker Punch for the priority, or even Power Up Punch, again as a reliable way to potentially allow this Pokemon to boost its physical attack by 1 stage and thus make it even more threatening of an attacker that can boost 2 ways through its speed with Rock Polish and its physical attack through Power Up Punch. Finally, for the last moveset of this video, we're going to go ahead and run Sudowoodo as a Cursing Boosting Sweeper. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a Careful Nature to increase its special defense but lower its special attack, go with the Rock Head ability, and this time run an EV spread of 252 HP, 4 attack, and 252 special defense to max out this Pokemon's special bulk as it's attempting to boost up. And for the item, we're going to go ahead and run Leftovers to give it a reliable recovery at the end of every turn, or a Chesto Berry to allow this Pokemon to wake itself up when it's put to sleep, either by yourself when using the move Rest, or by an opponent trying to put Sudowoodo to sleep. But for the moves on this set, since this is a Curse boosting set, Curse is obviously going to be our first attack, but is going to allow Sudowoodo a reliable way to boost its physical attack and its physical defense by 1 stage while also simultaneously lowering its speed stat. But because this Pokemon is so slow already, it's not a huge deal to lower its speed stat because it's really not going to affect a lot of the stuff that it would normally be outspeeding. But with this, we're going to go ahead and run Head Smash again as our main Stab Rock type move, and because we're even making ourselves even slower, Sucker Punch becomes even more of an important option because we're obviously going to want the priority to be able to take out opponents that are trying to deal damage to Sudowoodo. Additionally though, we're going to potentially run Wood Hammer as our last move to give it a really great grass type coverage option. I suppose Earthquake could also work here, but really in this particular instance I see Wood Hammer being a little bit more useful just because of the type coverage it provides and the fact that you're basically just trying to boost up and hit things incredibly hard, so it doesn't really matter so much the type coverage that you might have, but Wood Hammer just works out a little bit better in the grand scheme of things that I've used this with. And then lastly, Rest obviously as an option to allow this Pokemon to recover all of its HP all the way back up to full and allow it to basically be refreshed in the way that it is able to then just deal a ton of damage to its opponents now being back brought up to full HP. Additionally, you could also potentially run this as a Curse Rest Talk set with just Head Smash, but I don't think that's as useful as having the added type coverage and the priority that Sucker Punch or Wood Hammer would provide. But anyways, everybody, that is it for this video, so thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.